Well, hello, sports fans. It's your favorite programming of the week, Athletics Chat, and it's number 60. I have to use two hands to keep track of it. Well, anyway, Stuart, a charming gentleman with the nice earphones, silver and black on, is in Oxford, the intellectual capital of the world. But soon he will be traveling to Tokyo to cover the Olympics for us and our friends at Athletics Weekly. And he will be writing mostly about, all things British and Scottish, but, we will tax him on a couple other things once in a while. Good to see you, sir.
Hello, yeah, great to be here.
So when do you head out?
Friday.
Friday. Is there much anticipation?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many hurdles to get through this. The reason I'm recording a little bit late tonight is that I just had my 96-hour swab when a kind nursing friend stuck something up my nose, the way that we do these days.
Yes.
And I got to have two negative tests before they allow me to go. And I've got to download various apps and track and trace for Japan and all the rest of it. So there's a lot of stuff to get through. Then when I arrive in Tokyo, if they let me in, I get to sit in my room for 72 hours. So
on.
Yeah. So there we are.
I just talked to Alan Abrahamson, and he told me that he's been there for 3 days, and that jet lag is horrific, and that he's spitting a lot. Apparently, the tests they're doing over there are spit tests.
Yeah.
So he said, make sure you have a lot of saliva, and that sounds really exciting. How does it look for you getting into the stadium?
Well, I just don't know because there is a ticket booking website, and I spent a few hours trying to get that to work. And then eventually somebody told me that it won't work until you get to Tokyo because you have to have your accreditation validated. I just think I will not know. And, I talked to the British Olympic Association. And I talked to British Athletics. They're very sympathetic, but they say, we don't know any more than you do. We don't know how many tickets we're going to get. We don't know what the demand for tickets is going to be. It's even more complicated because the morning session tickets are done by the local organizing committee, and the evening tickets are done by your own country.
Oh, that's nice. That's sweet.
So
you get two groups to deal with. Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you've got a stadium that seats 60,000 people and you're not having any spectators, surely it's not that difficult to accommodate some media.
Yeah, I would think that would be an issue. I don't know what their thing is right now, although we're hearing in the U.S. 58 positive tests for COVID so far among people entering the country. And, I'm not sure what they're doing with them, putting them in the Tower of London or what, So
well,
it's just.
I think you're taken to a hospital for a medical assessment, and they decide from that. But I mean, but even worse luck is that 6 British athletes who have not been named were on a plane where somebody tested positive. And they have now been told they have to isolate for 10 days.
Oh, man.
I understand that there's negotiations around whether that can be shortened. But if not, they will potentially be in their rooms for 10 days, unable to exercise other than walking up and down the room. And then they may have a few days before they're competing.
These are some of the things that you kind of knew were going to come up, and it's just it's most unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to get onto the info services in Tokyo and haven't had much luck. And they didn't identify my email, although I've used the same email for I think 4 Olympics now. But
Yeah.
we shall see if we can get on there. But where do you want to start today? You want to talk a little more about Gateshead?
Yeah. I mean, this is the second Diamond League at Gateshead. The first one was the Rabat. This one was not the anniversary games. The
Yeah.
fact that is so close to the Olympics meant that the quality of the field was nothing like as good as it normally would be, because basically hardly an American and hardly a Jamaican athlete who is going to the games was present. Because if you
Yeah.
think about it, why do unnecessary traveling at this point where you could get pinged and have to isolate somewhere? But
Yeah.
one of the exceptions was Trayvon Brommel, who was there running 9:98, just to remind everyone that he can produce that kind of time when he's not under any pressure in a race that isn't that important. So, what can he produce in Tokyo when it matters?
Yeah.
Johannes Vetter throwing his javelin almost out of the stadium. Femke Bol, who had apparently set 12 national records this year at
Wow.
various distances and events, indoor and outdoor. She's doing. She's done about a 52, and I mean, she actually said openly. I asked her at the presser, and she said, "Well, my target for the year was to run a 52.99." And so I'm actually half a second ahead of what I'd been hoping for. And obviously, Sydney and Delilah are amazing, but you just wonder whether Femke can get among them. And even if she doesn't beat them, I wouldn't be at all surprised if she runs another PR.
I think that she can run another PR. I think she's also the spoiler. If one of them falters,
Yeah.
I think that you see Femke move up. I mean, I select her for the bronze right now, but I think that her 400 speed, her 400 speed and those hurdles and the way that that nice series of races she had against Shamir Little were awesome for both of them. I mean, they both put her on the line, and I love seeing event after event where the athletes are competing against each other. That really builds up an interest, and it's a good one. That was really fun.
It is the hurdles, and as the legendary British coach Malcolm Arnold used to say, the hurdles bite.
Yes, they do. We watched Emma Coburn hit a steeple barrier recently, and that was a very tough one.
So, I agree with you in terms of the favourites, but if Sydney or Delilah happens just to clip a hurdle, it's a different race.
Yeah. No, it's just, and Femke is she's impressed me. I thought she would stay in the 53s. I remember when Leah Sprunger was coming on for a while, I really thought Leah could get down there. Just think that she ran quite well, but Femke is running with the best in the world, and it's going to be interesting to see, what she does.
People have different approaches to an Olympic year, and Femke ran every indoor race she could get into, and she just said to me, running so fast flat just gave me the confidence that I had this additional speed to take into the outdoor hurdles.
What did you think about Jody Williams' nice nifty double in the 200, 400?
Oh, funny enough, I had a long chat with Jody this morning. Because the British team are setting up lots of little interviews for us. Jody, you'll recall in our trials, qualified in both the 200 and the 400. And I mean, I've had this ongoing conversation with Jodie. I mean, I remember going back to 2014 when Jodie came second in Europe, and I knew her coach well, and she was a sprinter. And her coach used to make her run 400s, and she used to hate it. And so I teased her about it. I said to her, you know, what happened to that girl who used to hate the 400? Now she's choosing to run it. And she said, well, I don't think any 400 runner actually enjoys running the 400.
That is honest. That is honest.
But I mean, she said that she's found, as she's got older and got to know her body, she feels that her body doesn't cope with the really fast training you need for sprinting, and that she's actually coping better now with, you know, if she just tests on pure speed and tests speed endurance, she always comes out better in the speed endurance. So she went to Gateshead to run a fast 400 and went under 51 seconds for the first time and set a PR. And I know that 51 isn't great on the world stage, but don't forget that this is really the first year that Jodie has taken seriously running the flat 400. And she said, I wasn't entered in the 200, but a lane came up and we just thought, why not? And so to run the two of them an hour apart, to run a PR in one, and to run her fastest for 7 years in the 200. And I mean, she's a lovely and a really engaging person, was talking about her podcast, was talking about the charity in Uganda that she supports. I'll write this up properly for early next week as a kind of preview.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah, I think she's a really impressive person. You know, for somebody who has gone to a world championship at 60 meters, now she's going. She went last year to at 400. And she's got this interesting coaching situation where she works with Ryan Freckleton in England and Stu McMillan at Altus. And she just said, it just works for me.
Yeah. I picked her as I picked her to do something special in Tokyo. I mean, I think that it'll be nice to see her in the 4x4, but she's also, she could get that. I think her PB does not show the actual amount of speed she has and endurance that she has. And I think that she can run a 50 point. And I mean, a low, like I'm talking 50.1, 50.2. Yeah. She would be in the game, and would love to see that, because I've done the research, and you've obviously, we talked about her story. We loved interviewing her, and she's one of the, she's in it. It's interesting to see now for me. I'm forming an attachment with several British athletes that I really like. I've always liked, like Adam Gemelli. I always thought Adam was just a good guy and a straight shooter in your relay guys. Yeah. But they also compete against, the Americans and the and I know the women 400 runners pretty well in the U.S. and the women 400 hurdlers and the guys, of course. So it's really interesting to watch and see how they compete and how they do stuff quite differently, I'm not sure which way is the best anymore. I hated the pick the top three in the U.S. I started to like your selection stuff, but I remember, Seb and Wendy Sly back then getting totally hosed over that a couple times. Yeah. And then now, there's still some issues, with different stuff with the selection, but you've got to hand it to them. It seems to work. So, what other performances were you impressed with in Gateshead?
Well, one that I was impressed with, but in a sad sort of way, was Omar McLeod, who is not going to Tokyo because he didn't come in the top three in the Jamaican trials. He was telling me that the semi-finals, wrote this up for you, that the semi-finals were late one evening and the final at 8 a.m. the next morning.
That's insanity. That was crazy.
And in a situation, he said, where because of lockdown, he struggled to get treatment, and the hotel he was staying in wasn't serving any food. But yet he was supposed to get from an evening race. And then when he woke up in the morning, he said they were leaving their hotel at 5 a.m., having raced the previous evening, and he got really bad cramp. And so he asked for a medical exemption and didn't get it. And I thought he came across really well and was really. I mean, he was very honest. He said, "I'm not in a good place. I'm absolutely devastated by what has happened."
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'll beat Grant Holloway, but I would like to be given the chance to go head to head with him.
That's what I'm going to miss. I mean, I have my feelings, but I really admire Omar. We've watched him through World Indoor, Olympics, World Outdoor. We watched him fall in 19, but we also watched him run some good stuff the last 16 months. And it's I didn't know that with that Jamaica had that many potential gold medalists that they could play off one. And I find that, I mean, the Federation obviously doesn't take it as seriously as either, Omar does or his coach, Raina Ryder, obviously, are there, I think the manager's Claude. And
no longer. He's moved on. I don't know where he is, but he's no longer with Claude.
Oh, really? Okay. That's okay. Yeah. But it's disappointing to hear that about Omar. It's just And I thought the piece was quite good.
Thank you. But I mean, I just thought he's always a lovely person, as you say. And I mean, I just think there has got to be a bit of common sense in this, that if you want the Olympic title to be as special as it is, you've got to have some kind of way of having the odd wild card. Remember 2016, Kenny Harrison broke the world record after the US trials, where she hadn't come in the first three, and so she doesn't go to the Olympics. Well, I mean, it's hard for her, but it deprives the spectators of seeing the world record holder, or in Omar's case, the Olympic champion, going against the new kid on the block. And I just think you want whoever wins the Olympics to say, I won it fair and square, everyone was there who should have been.
Yeah.
So that's my little rant.
So here's my idea. Go ahead, sir.
Go on.
Okay, so here's my new idea, just like it was coming to you. I think we should have 3 nights before an Olympics or World Championships that calls Seb Says, and he gets 3 men and 3 women from anywhere in the world, and he can say, you know what? They're not there, and I want them there because they add to the event. And that's the kind of wild card. Let's do it dramatically. It's not professional wrestling, but we'll get Seb with a pint, and we'll interview him, and we'll go, okay, Seb, 3 men, 3 women. I think it would be awesome, and that's the kind of stuff that we need to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah. But let's just talk Tokyo a little bit. I mean, this morning, yesterday morning, I've been speaking to British athletes, and it must be terribly glamorous to go to the Olympics, you know, the pinnacle of your life and everything like that. And take Jess Judd. Jess Judd told me that she spent most of this year running around an industrial estate because the tracks have been closed, and she found a place near where she lives where if she goes this way and that way and round, it was exactly a mile. So she and her fiance ran round and round this industrial estate. And good on her, she made the Olympics in both the 5 and the 10.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, she said the sadness for me is my dad is my coach, and my fiance is my training partner, and neither of them are able to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Spoke to Asher Phillip. You know, he just told me it's a very boring life. I train, I eat, I sleep, and you just keep out of the way. You eat meals in a hotel with a big plastic see-through screen between you and the person opposite you. You spend the minimum amount of time down there and get back up to your room where you're safe. I mean, several of the athletes said, fortunately, we've got a nice view out over the water, but you know, it's and then of course they're moving to the Olympics quite late because to the Olympic Village, because they're only there for 4 days maximum before they compete, and 2 days after they finish. So, I mean, most athletes will not be there either for the opening or closing ceremony.
Yeah. The talk to me about Martin Rooney. He's been a good friend for years and loves the sport. And I'd always see him around Stockholm time or one of the meets at the end of the season, and we get to catch up a little bit. And now he's decided to retire. Did he have any chance to make the relay team this year, or was he just not looking fit?
He just wasn't running fast enough. I mean, our relay team, like yours, there are discretionary places, but you'd have been choosing him on reputation. I mean, I saw him run twice, not in the highest quality field, and he was coming 6th and 7th. I just think that sadly age has caught up with him.
Yeah.
There was a lovely moment. He ran at Gateshead a week ago, and when he finished, he was interviewed by Ewan Thomas, who of course used to run with him, and his wife Kate, the former pole vaulter, came out with the 2 children, and Ewan Thomas said to Kate, do you think you'll cope having him at home now when he won't be away in training camps? And Kate said, well, it'll be hard, but I think we'll get through it.
He was always fun.
Yeah. I think it's essential, though, that the sport finds a role for him, that we don't lose all his experience and expertise.
Yeah.
Whether in coaching, mentoring, or whatever.
No, I think I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Laura Muir's decision not to run the 800. Was it a good decision?
Well, I'm due to speak to Laura in a couple of days' time. I think it was. I was surprised that you decided to do both, because, I mean, if you look at the way the U.S. trials went, you know, people going out in 56-point-something seconds. I don't think Laura has got that pace, you know, to win that kind of race. And I think she just thought to herself, look, I'm a serious contender for a medal. Is running the 800 going to double my medal chances, or is it actually am I an outside bet for a medal in the 800, and am I going to diminish my chance in the 1500 by trying to do both? And I think she and Andy just made the decision that if the aim is to get a medal in Tokyo, it's much more likely to come in the 15. And running 3 800s as well is not really going to help. So I think it was a sensible decision. I mean, I just think I can see the women's 800 being won in 155, 156, 157 for the medals, and so I think it's, you know, obviously there won't be pacemakers, but I think there are people in that race who think I can run that time, most of the others can't, so my best chance of winning is by running the legs off them.
Well, I think it's Faith Kipyegon and Athing Mu. And, you know, what'll be interesting is you got Raven Rogers, you got Gemma, you've got, you know, Keely makes the final. That's going to be fascinating. And you've got Ajay Wilson, who used the new tactic at the trials. And I'm not even thinking about Winnie from Uganda, the woman who has just been so impressive. So
Natalia Gula's done 2 157s this year.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, she's looked, you know, got to interview her this winter, quite impressed. Yeah, she's got some wheels, total wheels. Something I wanted to ask you about before I forgot about it. So yesterday, there were a couple meets in the U.S. over the weekend. One of them was from Marietta, Georgia, and I'm not there yet to call it a European record. Alex Wilson from Switzerland ran a 984, but I can't find the proof of electronic timing. And the only video I've got is an amateurish video of someone who really didn't seem like they were paying attention to the meet. And then I also found now on Wikipedia, they show that Alex has run 1989 this season too in Marietta. And so how AW said it was a European record. Have you heard anything more about that today?
No. I mean, I've never thought he was quite that fast, but
yeah. I mean, his times this season, going from like 10:38 to like 10:19, and I mean, things happen, but it was a bit surprising.
I still think I would back Trayvon ahead of him for next week.
I think him and Ronnie Baker look to me like the two. And Akine Simbini, I mean, I like Akine. He's got the wheels, he's got the tools in there. So it'll be very interesting to see. And I've always liked Zarnell Hughes. But I just don't know. I mean, Zarnell is tremendously talented. But is this his time?
I don't know. I mean, he does have this awful habit of false starting and things like that. But I didn't say, I spoke to Trayvon in Gateshead, and I just said to him, look, I remember your fantastic run in Portland 2016, and then it all went wrong. How did you get back? And I mean, he was great. He just said, look, I believe that God puts significant people in your life, and if it hadn't been for the people around me, I guarantee you I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. Because there were an awful lot of people who helped me through those dark days, he called them.
Yeah, you know, he's one of the classiest young men. Yeah, no, he's one of the classiest guys out there. And he's done that all season when he was in the U.S. Every time Lewis Johnson, the NBC commentator, asked him, hey, how'd you do this? He credits everybody around him. and he makes that whole thing about, him and Grant Holloway are really big on reminding us that it's a team to do things. I mean, Grant does it with a lot of humor, but Grant is a character. Trayvon's a little quieter, but they both have that amazing drive and talent. Talk to me about the British men in the 1500. Who are you most impressed with?
I think Jake Whiteman, but I mean, Josh Kerr is pretty good too. I mean, it was hundredths of a second between them in the trials. But I think that I think that Jake has got the ability to get a medal in several different types of race.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I talked to him about that the first lap in the Olympic final could be incredibly fast or could be incredibly slow, and how do you deal with that? And I mean, he said that he had gone into races this year in order to practice racing, because it's one thing to do what he did in Monaco, to follow a pacemaker and then run faster than Cohen ever did. You got to be fit and you got to have the ability to do that. But it's quite a different thing from taking on the best in the world, not knowing how the race is going to go. And so I think he's got a good brain. Josh Kerr, probably a little bit less experienced, but he's done some really fast times. And Jake will never admit that Timothy Chariot is not going to be there. Because I think that he'd probably be one of those three picks that you're giving him. But I mean, he said if he isn't there, it'll be a completely different race, and it'll be an incredibly open race and a race that nobody quite knows how to be run.
Well, Timothy will be there now. We just heard that. Yeah.
All right.
So that's gonna be. I think that I concur with you. I think that Josh, and I've watched him race. I think Josh is honing his racing skills. I think he can run from a slow race. I think he can run from a strength race. If it comes down to an unusual situation, I think Jake is the guy that I would bet on, because he has. Last year, he did something very smart. He spent some time honing that final 100-meter kick. And, the one that we've been using this year, and I brought this up, I just did a Zoom with some sports people in LA, and I told them the Bernard Lagat rule, which is keep your cool till 50 meters to go, because then no one can react around you. The difference is that Jake could do that, and that's where the medal comes in, But you look at him and you look at Josh. I'll tell you, I think you guys have got some. I mean, we've got, our young men here, Cole Hawker and then Matthew Centrowitz. I have a hard time betting against Matthew for a medal. I would love to see him defend, but I think with Chariot, unless Timothy does something completely dumb, and for me, that would mean letting it down to the last lap. If he lets it down to the last lap, yes, he's got speed, but my gosh, he's got 10 people with him in some Portuguese suit, or the young Mohammed Kadir. I'll tell you, Kadir's what got the Spanish national records of the 1500, the 3, and the 5. That, and I don't know what he's running. I mean, it just we think the 5,000, but we don't know. So it'll be interesting.
But I think that there's some events where we can say that really good athletes could run a PR and not get a medal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's just, well, but we're getting to the end, and I wanted to give a little time to Dina Asher-Smith. Dina's one of my faves, and especially with, Sha'Carri not competing, I think that obviously she's always been in the medal hunt. You've got Elaine Thompson and you've got Shelly Ann, two of our favorites. You've got Javianne Oliver. My gosh, and then you've got Blessing Okabare, who I think kind of is like up and, like that. And there's going to be surprises. There's going to be 3 or 4 real surprises, and we'll have to see kind of where it plays out. Give me your 3 biggest spoilers for Tokyo. Are there athletes that you think could surprise the heck out of us?
I mean, we're starting talking about the women's 100. I see that going Jamaican.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it could go to either of the Jamaicans because, I mean, I think Shelley is the absolute queen, but Elaine has just got better and better.
Yeah. Her Achilles seem much better.
Yeah. The 200. I mean, it'd be interesting to know really what Shawnee Miller-Weebo is going to do.
Yeah.
Because recently entered in the 2 and the 4, but the word in the street is that she's unlikely to do both.
Yeah.
So I wonder what she will go for. I mean, she beat Shelley on a 200, but I think these days what you never know in that situation is who has tapered fully for the race and who's still in training. And so therefore, somebody beating somebody is not really that significant, perhaps. I think that I'm also really fascinated by the women's 800. We talked a bit about that because, nobody quite expected Raven Rogers to do what she did in Doha. If she does that again, she'll be hard to beat. I never know how to pronounce the new sensation, the new American champion in the women's 800. I think. Yes. Yeah, I mean, she looks she looks to be able to produce a time that most of the others won't be able to match. But, it's a championship race. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, from a British point of view, I could see Gemma running the race of her life and still being out of the medals.
Yeah. No, I think that what I would like to do, Stuart, is see if you're going to be available this Thursday so we could do a recording for something for next week, if that works for you.
Right.
So we'll have to check our schedules and just see. I'll follow up with you after we get done. But we have now completed our time for Athletics Chat 60. And as we can see, we can talk and talk and talk, especially when we get to this point. But good luck with your packing, my friend, and your other shots. And we will catch up with you a little later this week and see what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. This is
okay.
Larry Eater with Stuart Weir, Athletics Chat 60. Thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager. Stay safe, everybody. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater. This is the epilogue of Athletics Chat 60. It's one of the last times Stuart and I will chat before he heads to Tokyo. I'll be covering it remotely. We have a nice team over there. But because obviously of the pandemic, I've decided that it's actually a little easier for me this time to cover everything from here with the challenges of getting around and the challenges the pandemic puts together. So we talked about Gateshead today with Stuart. Um, and we talked about some of the fine performances, Trevon Bromell. We also noted not many Americans, not many Jamaicans were over in Gateshead. I also got some comments from some of our readers, and one of them asked me, why did the Diamond League put a meet so close to the Olympics when the quality of the meet was so up and down? And I had some complaints about the broadcast too, which I never do on Diamond League. But again, it goes into that subject that um, here's where I'm at right now. Over the weekend, there was an American Track League event, and there were some fine performances, but the TV did not live up to the fine performances. And it's not because the TV was bad, it's because the funding for the TV just was not there. So they did the best they could. And quite frankly, they gave the meet, the meet did not get the respect it deserved. And that's because there wasn't the money from sponsors to do the TV well. And my contention is you shouldn't put on crappy TV. It puts our sport back years. And I will be posting an interview in the next week or so from Lord Seb Coe, where I asked him just these questions. I believe that there should be a group that says, you want to do a track meet? Here's the minimum standards you've got to do. We'll give you a small grant, but you do the stuff well, or you're not on TV. The problem is you really can't do that in a democratic society. You can control things to a point, but that's the best you can do. There needs to be some self-editing, and the managers, meet managers, um, and the officials and the sponsors need to understand that putting a crappy track meet on really hurts the sport. And we've had a few this year. We had one with the world record early in the season, and that's just because the guys didn't have any money. And I love the way that a lot of these beat directors came up, and a lot of them did some pretty cool things. But there have been some tiny meets that have had really good streaming coverage, quality that could be seen on television, but also the quality of some meets. They did it at a little bit lower level, but they did a nice job. And we need to look at these things, because if we want our sport to grow instead of to stagnate, we have got to present ourselves better. And quite frankly, I'm confused by the season. We've had some great meets, Monaco. We've had some absolutely crap meets. And I don't understand why they're on TV. I understand how they get on TV, because there's fine meets that can't get on TV. So it's a bit of a conundrum, but it's something that you'll see us discuss on the pages of RunBlogRun, and you'll see me rant about it in some upcoming epilogues and maybe a conversation with Larry. So we've just finished up with Gateshead. We have athletes heading to the Olympics. There's quarantines on both sides of the leaving and going to Japan. Most of the media have to be in their hotel for 3 or 4 days. A lot of spittings involved, because they're doing spit tests for the COVID. And there's already been 58 positive COVIDs with athletes and officials. And there will be more. That's just the nature of the beast with people being so close. We pray that people stay safe. We pray that people recover. In my best world, they would have put off all Olympic stuff till 2024, because we're not done with this stuff yet. COVID is still there. We don't know enough about it. And I know people are tired of wearing masks, but I'd rather be tired of wearing a mask than be dead. That's just the way that we put it. And the new Delta virus, our new variant, is scary. We don't know if it's more fatal, but we do know that it's much more infectious. And so please just be careful. Wash your hands, wear a mask indoors, exercise, sleep well, hydrate, and eat. please be careful. Okay. Want to see you guys at an upcoming track meet. Larry Eater, this was Athletics Chat 60, the epilogue. Thanks again to Mike Deering, our production manager. Thanks to Stuart Weir in Oxford, soon to be in Tokyo. Talk to you soon.